it's your highest calling.
Yeah.
Before you're leading your team, you're leading your people, even leading your family, your highest calling is your relationship with the Lord. It has to be intentional, man.
Hey, I'm Andrea Olson. I've been leading worship and training worship leaders for nearly 20 years, and my mission is to support worship leaders just like you in volunteer-supported ministries because I know what it's like. I've been there. It's amazing, but you have a big job, and sometimes you might feel a little bit alone. But I'm here to remind you that you aren't. We'll cover spiritual and leadership growth, practical resources, and get encouragement from other worship leaders from all over the world. I truly want to see you lead from the overflow, not the overwhelm. So grab a cup of tea or coffee and join me. Welcome to the Overflow Worship Podcast. Hey, before we get started with today's episode, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for joining us on this journey and being a part of the Overflow Worship Podcast family. As a token of my gratitude, I want to give you a free gift, and I hope that it will inspire and encourage you on your journey. I am so excited to share with you the Healthy Team Toolkit that includes my top 5 tips for a healthy team, plus a brand new 5-week devotional series to help you and your team grow together while taking some of the weight off your shoulders because we've done the prep work. Because we know that this calling to worship ministry is about so much more than making music. Week by week, this toolkit and devotional will guide you and your team through the essentials of private worship, relationship building, and servant leadership as you all work together to steward the atmosphere of worship in your church. So if you're ready to transform your team, sign up today for this completely free, amazing journey at overflowworship.com/healthy-team. If you want to get this totally free 5-week devotional and healthy team toolkit, just head on over to overflowworship.com/healthy-team. Well, today is a good day at the Overflow Worship Podcast because I have a good friend with me here, and we've gotten to know each other over the last few years through just some really cool, unexpected ways, and I'm so grateful. And so I think that you all are going to be excited to welcome back to the podcast Brian Tabor from Worship Probs. Thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I tell this to people when you're not around. Andrea Olson is one of my all-time favorite people.
Oh.
So I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Absolutely. Anytime. The door is always open.
Oh, man.
Yes. So, Brian, catch everybody up on the Worship Probs world. What's going on in the world of Worship Probs? What are you guys excited about right now?
Man, we're having a blast. It's we have all these ideas, and so we're excited about that. So we're behind on a few things like video podcasting, which we just started yesterday.
Amazing.
So hopefully you'll start seeing like full-length video of our podcast on YouTube here very, very shortly. So we're excited about that. We started last spring, we started something called Worship Karaoke, where we get in a car and we pick up worship leaders, like some of them are people you would know, but then some of them are just faithful staff worship leaders. And we go on like a little road trip. We sing old worship songs and we talk about worship and leadership and leading your team and all that good stuff. We have a lot of fun with that. So that's been a blast. Really, really having a good time with that. Yeah, man. And just making memes, making memes in the wild
Yes.
world of Instagram and TikTok and all that good stuff. So yeah, man, we're having a great time.
That's amazing. Yeah, I so appreciate the memes and the comedic relief because it's just like there's so much truth behind them and we can laugh together.
Man.
We need that.
Yeah. Boy, we do. We need to be reminded, man, I'm not the only one, wrestling with this problem. Like back in the beginning, when I started this, I was anonymous. And so I would get these DMs all the time where people were going, how do you know that's what I'm dealing with in my church. How did you know? I'm like, because I'm dealing with it in my church. Like I get it, man. I'm one of you. So I hope the laughs are healthy, and our goal, we're not ever trying to make fun of people, but what we hope is if we can get you laughing, it can lead us into a deeper conversation about, what we're all working hard to do, and that's to help our people take a step closer to Jesus, man. That's what we're all trying to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. And I think you do it in such a great way, the way that you bring laughter, and it's clear to me always that it's never to make fun. And I love that. I mean, it's people send you stuff, right? And they're like, "Please post this," right? They give you permission.
Yeah. They do. Yeah, we've learned a thing or two about that over the years. And so sometimes people will send us something of their church's live stream or whatever. And so like our first question, we take them through a little bit of an approval process, like unofficial approval. Like, okay, so are you on stage, or are you like just a member of the church, or you're in the production booth or whatever? And then the second question is, would everybody in the video grant us permission to share this? Because we don't want, and then the last question usually is your church okay with us of sharing that? And most of the time those answers are yes. Yeah. Everybody's on board. But we just like to make sure. So yeah, people send those to us all the time. If you've got one where maybe things didn't quite go as planned, send it over to us, and
yes.
We'll walk you through that approval process. Right? But yeah, we have a great time with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had a good slip of the tongue, and not that long ago, but it was in rehearsal. So unfortunately, it wasn't recorded, and my team was real sad because they were like, "Please tell me it's on video." I'm like, "No, it's not." Did I tell you? Did I text you and tell you what I said?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's good. I don't know. It's going to be real hard for me to lead House of Miracles though anymore because of it. Like in the verse, he says, "This is a house of worship. Our hearts are full of faith," or something. And I don't know why, but I always want to say our faith is full. But halfway through, I realized it's not faith, it's hearts. So I said our farts are full.
Oh man, I wish I had that.
I know.
That's fantastic.
I know. My team was like, did you get it? Was that the recorded version? I'm like, nope, sorry. That just lives on forever, rent free in your brain. And now I can't sing that song anymore without like laser focus.
Man, I started in full-time ministry in 1993, and I am so grateful that everything I did was not on video back then, because man, yeah, there would have been some great ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm grateful. I'm so great. That is an added, like, it's not our focus obviously, but that is a little bit of an added wrinkle. It could turn into an added pressure. We don't want to be focusing on that obviously, but man, to have everything you do every weekend recorded.
Yeah.
Gosh, man, it's a new day.
It's a lot of pressure for sure. But I think that it's something that we like, just like we were just talking about with the memes and everything. We have to be lighthearted, and we have to,
absolutely
give ourselves grace, because we're human. Like, we can't expect ourselves to be perfect, because we do a big event every 7 days, and that's a lot of pressure to have it stream. Like, anyone in the world could
oh my
find your live stream.
Right. It's like writing a term paper every week. Like, I don't know if term papers are still a thing, but when I was in high school, like, you had these huge paper assignments you had to write for your classes, and man, it's like doing one of those every week. And with all the layers of, churches having other campuses and, campuses joining the main, like, there's so much to coordinate that, probably your average church member they don't know about, they probably don't even care about. They just want to come and, worship Jesus. So, but boy, you're right. Yeah, there's a lot of coordination.
Yeah. So hopefully for everyone listening, it's encouragement that, like, A, you're not alone, right? And B,
Absolutely.
to just, look at that. I got a thumbs up on the screen. It read my thumb. Like, anyone who's watching on the video, That's pretty cool. Oh, not on your side. I don't know.
It didn't read mine.
So anyway,
it's not giving me a thumbs up.
A, you're not alone. And B, give yourself grace. Lots and lots of grace because...
Lots of grace. Absolutely. Yeah. And give your team lots of grace. I mean, mercy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we peel back the curtain behind worship probs and you say like, hey, we get to have awesome conversations with people in DMs and behind the scenes because they're doing the thing, right? They're in worship ministry and facing real things week in and week out. And yes, there's the comedic relief, but then that leads to the really amazing, deeper conversations that you get to have. And that's what I love, because it's like, it's a means to the greater purpose. And one of those things right now is transition. Are you seeing that a lot? Like people are transitioning like from one ministry to another. Is that happening on your end of the world too?
It is, absolutely. And hopefully there will come an end to the answer that goes, because of COVID. But we're still living in that right now. And I think that continues to be something that it pushed so many people to the edge for lots of reasons, people dealing with medical stuff and loss of loved ones, all that stuff. But for the church staff member, like overnight, we all became television producers, and I don't have any training for that. I don't know how to do that. And I think there are so many people that just got burned out during that season. And so I think that's part of it. I think there are so many good things about social media. There are great things about social media, but then there are some really not so great things about social media and live streaming and YouTube comments and the way somebody can just log on and type whatever they want and log off and maybe they forget about it. But, the target of that, it's sometimes hard to forget those things. And I think you've got like exhaustion, you've got burnout, you've got probably some church hurt elements to that, which, is a real thing. And if I was totally honest with you, there were some church hurt elements that led to me starting this in the first place, like, gosh, I can't be the only one who just got chewed out for not singing all 4 verses of, just as I am today or whatever. And so, yeah, I think it's difficult in its own way, and it's a different difficult than like in our world right now. We see all kinds of horrific, difficult things, but in our small world in the church, these are certainly difficult things to process. And I don't know that we do an amazing job. There probably are places where they do an amazing job, but in the average church, I don't know that we do maybe the best job of processing those kinds of things, like those sort of like walk into your worship pastor's office, close the door and say, I don't need anything, but how are you doing? Like, how are you processing this? I saw this comment on YouTube. Nobody thinks that, so how are you doing? Or how are you doing in this season? I noticed you haven't had a weekend off in 8 months. That's, I don't think we do a great job of processing that, by and large. And I certainly would say I haven't been in a lot of situations where I felt like we did a great job of that. And so I think, man, all of that just kind of makes this stew, that makes it challenging, which is why we need to find our hope and our joy and our inspiration all in our walk with Jesus. Because if it's the Sunday school answer, man, but if we put it anywhere else, we will always be disappointed.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Amen. And it's difficult in the midst of ministry, even when things are going really well, but especially when there's difficulty or hurt or, hard transition, whatever that is, to keep that in the forefront. Because I don't know if you ever feel this way, but I have felt like, well, in the past, I'm doing the ministry thing. Like, I'm here. God knows. He gets it. He sees me. And so we kind of like sacrifice our personal walk with the Lord on the altar of like ministry busy or ministry hard. And man, what do you say to people when they ask you that question? Like, how do I do this? How do I manage this weight? And then still keep that at the forefront, because you're exactly right. It has to be, because we won't survive if we don't. But how do we do that?
Boy, that's a great question. I would never ever tell you I win that battle every day, because I don't. But it does seem to me that it has to be intentional. It has to be your intentional priority. And I guess what I'm saying to myself, and I would say to anybody who's listening or watching this today, it's your highest calling.
Yeah.
Before you're leading your team, you're leading your people, even leading your family, your highest calling is your relationship with the Lord. And it has to be intentional, man. And if you need an app or a mentor or whatever you need, go find that. You need an accountability partner. We don't probably talk about that a lot, but when I started in ministry, that was a huge thing, accountability partner. I remember, I think it was John Maxwell talking about his accountability partner, and I don't remember the questions. I wish I did, but they had given each other permission to ask each other like 3 questions every time, no matter what the answers are going to be. Like, you have access to my life, full access. Nothing is hidden. And we've got these phones, and there's a lot of great things about these phones. They'll do all kinds of stuff for us. And when you think about it, like when I was a kid, now I'm not putting you in my age bracket, but when I was a kid, we didn't have anything like this. We had those phones where you had to circle dial, and I remember when we got a push button phone, that was a big deal in my house. So, and then I had a separate thing I would wear on my belt or carry around called a Walkman, like where I would play cassette tapes and listen to, and so they've taken your camera, everything, it's all in one place, right? But just like with so many things, there's the good side. With the bad side, I think is how easy it is to use this to access things that you shouldn't be accessing. You know what I mean? So like having somebody that has access to your life, my wife has every password that I have. She has full access to pick my phone up at any time, look at what I'm searching for, look at my Instagram, my For You page, and so, man, I think all of that, it just, you've got to have intentionality around it. And I'm a person who sort of needs some systems, because my wife would tell you I'm like an undiagnosed ADD sort of person. Like, I have the attention span of what is the Ted Lasso? Be a goldfish, right? That's like really me, because I don't, I just don't have the attention span. So, I can easily just like hop from things to things. And, sometimes it can, before I know it, I've spent too much time doing something that has just eaten away from my day. I could have been in the Word, or I could have been at the piano, having a time of worship or whatever. And so, man, you got to set up those guardrails, whatever that looks like for you. Find an accountability partner. Give somebody access to your life. I can, because I'm a man, I can only speak to men. Men are, in large part, not great about giving people access to their life. We've grown up like we're supposed to be in charge and in control and leaders and strong and all that. Nobody needs access to me.
Yeah.
And, like if your voice is the loudest voice in your mind, I think that's dangerous ground. I think you need, that's a long answer, but I think it's got to be intentional, man.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good and so important because we need that. And it's not like we want it, right? It's not like we want to be like told,
We don't.
you shouldn't be doing that. It's like, well, I'm an adult. Right?
Exactly.
Because like,
I'm adulting over here.
Excuse me. 'Cause, like my kids will be like, why can't I have chocolate? I'm like, because I'm the mom. Like, that's why. And it's not your snack time, like whatever. But it is,
Right.
Kids are also really great, like little check-ins. Be like, Mommy, what you doing? It's like, maybe I pull up Instagram and I'm just like scrolling for a second. And it's like, you know what? I don't need to be doing that right now because I should be present with my kids, But it's so true. And it makes me think of there was a book that I read. I think it was one of the most recent John Eldredge books. And he talked about how he has these guardrails in place and they are actually tied to a place or an action. And so when you mentioned like time of worship or playing piano, it made me think of it because he said, my place for him is they have stables with horses. And so if I say to myself, when was the last time I was at the stables? And it's like, it was 6 months ago. Well, then I know there's a problem because that's where I like really just unplug and really connect with the Lord in nature. And it was like such a powerful thing for me to think about. For me, I think it's playing piano. I think it's like sitting and just playing piano and worshiping. And if I haven't done that all week, then there's a priority problem. We are going to take a quick pause from today's episode because I have a free gift for you. Leading worship is a big deal. And as much as the responsibility thrills you, it also can be a little daunting, right? And I know because I've been there. As someone who's led worship for more than 20 years, I know how stressful prepping for the weekend set can be because let's face it, Sunday's always coming. So I've developed a checklist that I go through every single time I'm preparing a set list for an upcoming service. And it really helps a lot. I feel confident. I feel prepared. It saves me time because let's face it, volunteer, you're probably spending precious evening time working because you're just trying to fit it all in. And so this helps you work smart and saves you time. And most importantly, it just helps me make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. It's helped me for 20 years and I'm giving it to you for free. So click the link in the show notes or head on over to overflowworship.com/setlist checklist to get yours today. All right, back to today's episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point too. I think there needs to be a spiritual lane for that. I think there also needs to be just what gives you joy. After you've taken care of the spiritual stuff, what gives you joy? Is it, going to the stables? Is it go play 9 holes of golf, or is it take a walk with your spouse, or whatever it is? Like, put your phones away, or turn on your do not disturb, which I think is the greatest advent that we have. Turn on your do not disturb, and just take an hour, man. Go for a walk, get outside, breathe some fresh air. Whatever that is for you. Find those things and be intentional about those too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's in those places that we can find rest, right? We find restoration. Yes. And it's like how we find the strength to make it through our challenging season, or, the weight of expectation, right? We talked about that. I mean, we joke as in like, oh, we're a TV producer all of a sudden, but there is a big weight of expectation, whether it's that or singing all 4 verses of the hymn. Like there is that weight. And if we just, force ourselves to face that week after week after week without any recharge, it becomes a, perfect recipe for sure burnout,
Boy, and we're heading into one of the most high expectation seasons of the year, at Christmas. And I can remember, and I have a great relationship with my my last church staff position, my pastor. We had a great relationship. We still do. And I can remember him as Christmas approached. Christmas was a huge deal at our church. And I can remember him saying, "So what are you planning?" And I'd list off some songs, and he loves music. He absolutely loves special music. If you don't know what that is, when I started in ministry, we would have, like specials or whatever, where somebody would just sing a solo, like a contemporary Christian song. It wasn't necessarily like a participatory worship song, and he loves it. And so if I would list a title that we had done before, he would ask me, "Have you done that before?" And the implication was, "Why are you doing it again?" And so I was able to say to him, "You know how every year when we come to our giving series, you say to me, 'How many more ways can I say, it's important to tithe?' After all these years in ministry, how that's sort of how I feel about Christmas. Like we're going to have a real celebration. There's probably going to be some songs you've heard before, and I think that's okay. What's the first thing you do? Like you hear a song that you like. Right now, it's Cody Carnes' Firm Foundation in our house, right? So that song finishes, and it's been meaningful to you. What do? Play it again. You hit rewind or whatever. And so I think sometimes we don't allow our congregations to play it again, experience that. And so I didn't get very far with them, but that was my explanation. So but boy, expectation at Christmas, my. Yeah.
Yeah, it's big. We were just actually texting as a staff about that yesterday because everyone on my staff has had either ministry or worship ministry experience. And so I just asked them because I was preparing for something that we're doing for Christmas for Overflow. And I said, what does it make you think of? Like, what do you think of when I say, oh, it's Christmas season because you're ministry families? And so we had a really great conversation, but that's what kept coming up was like the weight of expectation because you're supposed to do something like new and fresh, and that makes people feel like it's special for their families and their experience. But then at the same time, like, how do you say glory to the newborn King a different way? Like right? you can't.
How do you do it? How do you do it? I remember. Okay, I'm married up. Andrea knows this to be true because she knows my wife. So Kim's an incredible soprano. Spent some years traveling with Sandy Patty as a soprano backup singer. Like Kim is a canon. So it was sort of tradition in my first church experience for her to sing Sandy's "O Holy Night" on Christmas Eve. And we had done it for, I don't know, man, a few years or whatever. So I made a change one year. I had a lady come up to me after the Christmas Eve service, and she said, "So help me, if I ever get my family ready, we shelve our Christmas plans to come to this Christmas Eve service, and your wife does not sing 'O Holy Night' again, there is going to be trouble." Oh. She was dead serious. Oh. So, yeah.
Wow, Mama had a tough night that day.
She did. And I was like, Understood.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. But there, that is a great example though of the weight of expectation too. I mean, because it's like, it's not like there was any like bad intention behind making that change or, anything like that. It's just like,
a little variety, So.
Yeah.
A little variety.
Yeah.
And I think it was so funny. Like, I think Kim actually sang something else. Oh. But it wasn't "O Holy Night." And that's why they were there, apparently. And that's a whole other conversation. But there definitely is, my last church was a larger church. And we were probably, on a normal weekend, we were probably 4,500, 4 campuses. And the weekend of our, like we called it the special Christmas service. The weekend that we would do that, our attendance would swell to 8,000 or 9,000 people. And so even like in the community, it was it was this thing, and I'm like, what else can we do, man?
Yeah.
what else could we, like you said, how else can we say it?
Yeah.
I
think, for those who are listening or those who are watching, it's just hopefully an encouragement to know that you're not alone as you're stepping into this holiday season. It's like we're walking through this with you together. And I know that this year is also unique because Christmas Eve is on a Sunday. And so it's there's going to be 35 services or, whatever.
Oh my gosh. Right.
Right. And just know that you're not alone and you can give yourself grace. There's only so much you can do, and that's enough. It's enough. It really is.
Absolutely.
And
boundaries,
we can't meet everyone's expectations, and we do the best that we can. And it's ultimately just leave it to God, because he's the one who takes it and moves in the way he wants to. And so I'm grateful for that.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. So, as we kind of move towards wrapping up our conversation here, I think there's been so many encouragements throughout for our listeners and for people who are in ministry. And I think, like I said, it's just nice for people to know that they're not alone. But what would you say, we talked about the challenge of transition, right? And like you said, we're hopefully going to be able to say, like, not because of COVID. Sometime soon, we don't, we can get away from that, but it's true. It's really true.
Yeah, it is.
And that mixed with weight of expectation, whether it's Christmas or just Sunday to Sunday, what have been maybe one or two of the things that you have learned on your ministry journey, whether it's through transition or just in ministry, that could be an encouragement for people, kind of based on our conversation today that's gone towards that weight of expectation? What could you share with us?
Man, I would say these are not rocket science, okay? So, but I would say, everything you're doing needs to be, how appropriately that this is the Overflow podcast. So, like, everything you're doing needs to be just that. It needs to be an overflow. It needs to flow out of your relationship with Jesus. And so you've got to start there. I think God has surrounded all of us with people. And sometimes even though that's true, sometimes we choose to do things alone. And I would encourage you to make a different choice. Find somebody, like if you don't have anybody on your team or on your staff, maybe there's somebody at a local church, that could be somebody that you walk with. Maybe you have lunch a couple times a month or whatever, and you have some questions that you ask each other. How's your spiritual life? How are you looking at anything you shouldn't be looking at? Are you abusing your leadership in any way? Give them. Don't make these like softball, like it's got to have some teeth to it, and the expectation of, I'm going to be asked these questions. So if that helps you make good decisions, put that guardrail in place, and don't do things alone. Like ministry can be lonely, leadership can be lonely. Don't do it alone. And if you're doing all of those things, those will help you tremendously if a transition comes.
Yeah.
If you sense the Lord is leading you in another direction, first of all, you're doing the things because you've done you've taken care of your spiritual life. So you're doing the things that position your heart and your mind to follow the Lord in his leading. You're walking with somebody who has access to your life, and they can help you as you're approaching those decisions. I would say, if there's a couple of things that I wish somebody had told me beforehand, so there's no perfect church, right? There's no perfect people. So that includes me, or in your case, it includes not you, Andrea, but like the listener, it includes you in your situation. So whatever's going on in your situation, if you don't take care of that inside your own heart, you're going to take it with you to your next situation. So whatever that looks like for you, maybe it's even finding a Christian counselor to process some things with. Like, it would be easier for me to tell you, the people in full-time ministry that I know that aren't in some sort of Christian counseling than it would be to tell you the people who are. Like that's really normal.
Yep.
And just getting maybe if you don't know how to build your own guardrails, get some help.
Yeah.
And Christian counselors can do that, and as well as help you process whatever it is that's going on in you in from your side that's making your situation difficult.
Yeah.
They can help you with that. If you're transitioning out of ministry, which a lot of people are, and that's if that's where the Lord is leading you, I'm cheering you on. If you're stepping aside because of some hurt, that breaks my heart for you. And so finding somebody to process that with is really important. And if you're stepping out of ministry, like I have, out of staff ministry, like I have, finding a church home is really, really difficult. So if there is ever a day when I go back on staff at a church, I'm gonna interface with people who are trying to find a church home very differently, because it's wild, y'all. Like if you're on church staff, especially if you're a worship leader, you're used to being up front. Pretty much everybody knows who you are, even if they don't know your name. Oh, that's the lady who leads worship or whatever. When you go into a church and you're trying to find a church home now, not being on staff, no one knows who you are. No one knows your name. You will be, if you've ever lamented, man, I wish our church was friendlier, or I wish they talked to guests more, you're going to experience that firsthand.
Yeah.
And we've experienced that in several places that we've visited. We just walk in, we sit there, no one talks to us, and we leave. So if I ever, so those are, man, that sounds, don't throw me a pity party. We're doing fine. Yeah. But those are some realities of some things that I probably hadn't thought about, you know, and that whole finding a church are you going to serve when you get there? Are you going to serve on the team? Are you going to go from being the leader to maybe just being a keyboard player who rotates through the team, or, whatever? I mean, it just looks very different, and probably not something I had considered, before I made my transition.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's just such great insight. And I think we all will tuck that away, whether it's for the future or it'll be applicable for people who are in it right now. As you're exactly right. It's so important. And I love it. It's do it with people, right? Make sure we have people around us, whether it's, like you said, a Christian counselor, a mentor, an accountability partner, and, then find community. Because I think ministry can feel like an island, whether you're in it, transitioning out of it, or transitioning into something new. It really does feel isolating sometimes. And so
it does. Absolutely.
Doing it with people. I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Brian, for sharing your heart today, and just
my pleasure.
Yeah, your encouragement and kindness is just such a gift. So we're very grateful. Thank you for being here today.
Well, we love what you're doing, and man, cheering you on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, everybody, that wraps us up for another episode of the Overflow Worship Podcast. And you can check out the show notes to catch all the links for everything Worship Probs. We'll stick all those there for you so you can check out what they're doing. Make sure to follow them on Instagram, because you will get not only comedic relief, but you will get encouragement as well. And also, guys, if you enjoyed today's episode like I did, I hope that you'll hit subscribe so you don't miss another one. And also, I know I've asked this a lot, but it really does help us if you leave a review. So would you hop over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review? It helps me know how I can deliver you useful, helpful content, but also it just helps us to reach more people. All right, everybody, that's it for today. Until next time, keep on thriving. Bye.